Hello and welcome to another Econ Elastic video. I'm Joe.
And I'm Andrew.
And today we'll be looking at the income and substitution effects.
This video follows on from our previous video on the aggregate demand curve.
So there are two main effects that cause the aggregate demand curve to slope downwards. And just think about this logically. The higher the price, the less a person or yourself will demand.
And the two effects are known as the income effect and the substitution effect, both of which we're going to go over in this video.
So let's start with the income effect first. So in the short run, as prices are increasing, you'll find that your wages aren't increasing at the same rate. And I think everyone's probably experiencing this moment in time.
I know.
Yeah. So the reason is because wages are known as what is known as sticky. So it takes time to adjust.
So this actually causes a redistribution of income, and that is a redistribution away from the wage earners, the consumer, you and I, and it goes to the firms that are charging the higher prices. So for consumers, this is the income effect of higher prices.
So just in a couple of sentences, a rise in the price level leads to a cut in real incomes. This obviously causes people to spend less. This leads to a decrease in aggregate demand. Therefore, the aggregate demand curve is downward sloping.
So to some extent, the rise in profits may offset the decrease in aggregate demand. And there could even be a scenario where the price level increases enough to actually increase aggregate demand in the short run.
However, Andrew, it is unlikely that enough of the additional profits will be spent by firms on investments, especially as they won't really want to increase the investment when they can see consumer demand falling.
Also, any dividends that's paid to shareholders, which obviously acts as a form of income, will often take several months to materialize. This obviously leaves you with less real income in the short run. And even when you do receive that extra income through dividends, say, this may well be saved rather than spent, given the environment that you'll find yourself in.
Yeah, and therefore it's not going back into the economy. It's not going towards aggregate demand. To put this another way, if prices rise more than wages, redistribution of wages to profits is likely to lead in a fall in aggregate demand. And of course, if wages did keep up in prices, then we would experience no income effect at all.
We're not likely to see that because of the sticky wages.
Yeah.
So we're now going to move on to the substitution effect. And from a microeconomic perspective, we think of this from individuals. If the price of one good increases, you're likely to just switch to consumption of an alternative good.
This is the substitution effect of that price rise, which helps to explain why the demand curve for a particular good will slope downwards.
So at a macroeconomic level, we can identify three main reasons why people will demand fewer products as prices rise. So the first is an international substitution effect. So if the price of the domestic country's products rise, people will be encouraged to buy less of their country's products and actually more imports instead, which are now relatively cheaper.
The country will have fewer exports now as well, which are because they are less competitive on the global market. As a result of this, you'll see aggregate demand falling. So if we think of the equation for aggregate demand, which we've covered in another video, we have imports, which are increasing, which is an extraction of aggregate demand, and we have exports decreasing, which is an injection to the aggregate demand.
Overall, then, aggregate demand goes down in that scenario.
Yeah.
So there's also something known as an intertemporal substitution effect. And this means as prices rise, people need more money in the economy, and this actually has the effect of driving up the interest rates.
The effects of higher interest rates will discourage borrowing and encourage saving. So individuals will choose to postpone current consumption in favour of future consumption. Therefore, there'll be a reduction in spending. So we're thinking of that C in the aggregate demand equation, consumption. Yeah. So that's their spending. And if that's going to go lower, if that's going to decrease, then aggregate demand will also decrease. Everything else being remaining equal.
All remaining equal. Ceteris paribus.
Ceteris paribus.
And finally, we have what is known as a real balance effect. So if prices are rising in the economy, the value of your savings in your bank account, wherever they may be, is actually going down. Some people therefore choose to save more and therefore spend less in order to compensate for this. And again, as Joe mentioned, this consumption element is part of the aggregate demand equation. If you reduce C, then aggregate demand overall will fall.
So in summary, if prices increase, the aggregate demand decreases due to one or both of the income or substitution effects. Thanks for watching our Econolastic videos. Please check out our other YouTube videos on a range of economic topics. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
Please also check out our website at econolastic.com. The link will be in the description for you. This is where you'll find our step-by-step dissertation writing guide, which is suitable not just for economics, but for a whole host of degree subjects. And it's where you can also book us personally for 2-to-1 tutoring sessions.
See you in the next video.